quality of secondary school education under RMSA and developed continuous in-service teacher professional development package for science teachers at the secondary stage. Further, as member of the subgroup on secondary education set up by the MHRD for 25-year plan, she actively contributed in making a report of subgroups and quality dimensions at the secondary stage. During her academic career spanning over more than 1.5 decades, she had contributed more than 15 research papers, articles to various journals, developed audio-video programs, and also contributed her writings for the curriculum framework, syllabi, books, and training packages published by NCERT and other state agencies. Now request and invite Professor Ranjana for her address.
Thank you, Pooja ji. So I must greet all of you and very good afternoon to all of you. So I am here on behalf of Department of School Education and Literacy, Ministry of Education. First of all, I must thank Professor K.K. Agarwal, Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, Professor M.M. Pant, Professor Vineet Kansal, Mr. Arpit Chadha, Dr. Sunil Kumar Pandey, Professor Nancy Sharma, for their very informative talks. I have learned a lot about higher education, and as well as their clarity on school education also has mesmerized me, and we are very grateful to I.T.S for conducting this kind of seminar. So now I also greet all the participants, parents, students, teacher educators who have joined us on this platform. So here I will focus on school education and teacher education more, because this is an area and policy has many recommendations for transforming the whole school education, and we all know that school education is the foundation of even higher education. And first of all, I just wanted to start my talk referring to the question, referring to the statement that that the questions are the old one. We all have to answer those questions in new format and with new spirit and new motivation. So, of course, this time the vision of our national education policy is to make an equitable and vibrant knowledge society. And if you see the statement which policy has used, that high quality education to all, it is now focusing on providing high quality education to all. And under this high quality education, it has lots of expectations from us. So from students, this policy expect that we have to develop deep sense of respect in students towards the fundamental rights, duties, constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and a conscious awareness of one's role and responsibilities in a changing world. So this is the expectation from our policy, from us. And to fulfill these expectations, first of all, the policy is giving us entirely new curricular and pedagogical structure. Earlier, this was 10+2 curriculum structure, school structure was there, in which 10 years of schooling and then 2 years of secondary education was there. But now this policy is extending school education on the lower side, like it is starting the school education now from the year 3 onwards, and as Professor K.K. Agarwal was mentioning in detail, that it is very important to really strengthen our foundational stage, and then the policy is coming to the secondary stage with 4 years of this thing, a band. So one can see that 5 + 3 plus 3 plus 4. So this is now new curricular and pedagogical structure. It does not have any implication on the physical structure of the school, but it has implication for the curriculum, for the pedagogy, and for the assessment. And of course, I would not go in detail talking about the pedagogy, because all the speakers have very beautifully presented before us that what kind of pedagogy this policy is expecting from us at the school, at all the school stages. And very nicely, this policy is saying that we need to have play, activity-based, experiential learning, and which can inculcate critical thinking, multidisciplinary approach. So these kinds of things policy is recommending, which we have already heard from our worthy speaker. One aspect I just wanted to explain here. Now, as you all have seen, I might have seen in the budget announcement also, there is a good focus on toy-based pedagogy. So this is also we are integrating under the experiential learning, but now we are going to give more emphasis on toys, board games, plays, puppets in our school curriculum. And we find that these toys, these puppets, these games will be very helpful to not only to provide this experiential learning experience to children, but also these will be strengthening social, emotional behavior of our children, and also this language aspect, which the policy is recommending in the form of that multilingualism. This is saying across the stages. So now coming to the curricular concerns, we must know as a parent, as a student, as a teacher, because as a teacher educators, or maybe we have many graduate students with us, or those who are doing under graduation or graduation. So they may like to become teacher in their later life, or maybe they are as a parent teaching their students. So the policy is very clearly saying that for implementing the policy's vision and policy's principle, we need to come out with 4 kinds of curriculum framework in the system. And this is one curriculum framework is entirely focusing on early childhood care and education, because this is the foundational stage, and this we need to strengthen the most, because researchers say that if foundational stage is strengthened and strong, then the whole life will be we can run this whole life very smoothly. Then the policy is also recommending national curriculum framework for school education, as this is the earlier practices also in India, and till now we have 4 curriculum frameworks in our hand. Latest one is 2005, but now the policy is saying that along with ECC, we have to come out with national curriculum framework for school education. National curriculum framework for adult education is also very important curriculum framework this policy is saying, because we have to now look at the adult education also, because we have a good number of illiterate adult illiterates in our country, and we have to see we have to address that area also. And the national curriculum framework for teacher education also this policy is recommending, which would be in correspondence with the national curriculum frameworks of school education, ECC, and as well as adult education. So now if we see that some very one can see that very attractive features are also there in our policy, like policy saying that we need to start this pre-vocational education from class 6 onwards. And how can we start this, and how can we do this? The policies simultaneously, the policy is saying that let us have 10 bagless days. So let us, we all are saying that bag is very heavy, and let us have in our system introduce 10 bagless days in which children will not come with bag, and they will come only with maybe their tiffin, if midday meal is being provided, so maybe they don't have, they don't need to bring anything in the school. And now what they will do in the school, so they can do in these 10 bagless days some kind of internship. So our craftsmen in the locality can come to our school, or maybe a musician, or those who are dancers, if they are in the vicinity, or carpenter or potter. So if these vocations are available in the vicinity of the school, or in the neighborhood of the school, so we can involve those community members to do work with our children, and and make them aware of their own interest about the vocational education which they want to pursue in the later life. So this is one of the very good recommendation which I found. And then the policy is also saying about textbook with local flavor and context, very emphatically. Till now we have model textbook at the national level. NCERT used to prepare that national textbooks, but now this policy is saying that let the national textbook will be there as a model, but all the states have to come out with their own textbooks with local flavor, in which their languages, their flora, their fauna, and also as VC JNU said that the local ethos, like our Indian ethos, need to be reflected in those kinds of textbooks. Then brief courses on languages and knowledge of India is also one of the policy recommendation that we need to see. And then policy is also recommending multidisciplinary courses. So that also we need to see that how can we include these multidisciplinary courses at the level of secondary stage, because secondary stage is now of 4 years: phase 1 9 10 10, and phase 2 11 and 12, and we have flexibility of choices for children at that stage, as VCJNU has already said that they are in the process of coming out with innovative courses, of integrated innovative courses, engineering plus social science. So if higher education is taking this kind of initiative, so in school education also we need to have this kind of provision that children can opt with physics, they can opt for music, or with chemistry they can opt for dance. So it is up to them that what area of interest they want to pursue. Then assessment reform is also one of the recommendation of our policy, and for which we have started working. There are cross-cutting issues which will cut across all these initiatives. It is the development of critical thinking skills, core skills and concepts, learning outcomes, like culture and tradition, multilingualism, digital literacy, value education, health and wellness. So those kinds of cross-cutting thing will be taken care of by the policy. So the policy is, and then the policy is also very emphatically saying that we need to have some modern subject areas like machine learning, design thinking, and our speakers have already mentioned that, like global citizenship education. Artificial intelligence is also has been like emphasized upon by the policy. But I just want to mention here the point that the policy is saying that whether it is computational thinking, whether it is mathematical thinking, whether it is coding, whether it is design thinking, these need to now integrated from the foundational stage itself, whether in the form of small activities, or maybe in the form of toys, so that when children will reach to secondary stage, or when they will go to higher stage, they must be having this kind of understanding that how can they pursue this area. As far as knowledge of India is concerned, policies recommending, even I found that at many places the policy has itself giving us a roadmap that how can we implement those kinds of things. As far as knowledge of India is concerned, the policy is clearly saying that we need to have tribal knowledge, indigenous traditional ways of learning to be included in our school system in the form of projects, in the form of e-content, in the form of comic books. So those kinds of even how can we do those kinds of things? The policy is very nicely presenting before us. So these were the concerns about the curriculum. And as far as systemic reform is concerned, because in school education we always see in the form of, one is that curriculum, pedagogic and assessment concern, and the other is that how can we implement these concern, changing or taking care of systemic reform. So if you see that systemic reform, when we are bringing ECC into the school purview, so this will be a systemic reform for all of us. And then policy is also saying that let us come out with national mission for foundational literacy and numeracy. Let us strengthen foundational literacy and numeracy of our children from the beginning itself. And then this is also one of the systemic reform this policy is saying. And policies also have recommended lots of suggestion has given on the examination reform. This 360-degree assessment is one of the reform this policy is suggesting, that we have to now assess children not only by the teacher but by the peer. Children's self-assessment should also be focused. Then parent also can assess the progress of children. And moreover, these all things will be based on learning outcomes and competencies. So we need to see that how children are progressing on these competencies. And for this, there is a provision for holistic progress card in our school education now, on which we all have started working. It is very challenging because this holistic progress card means that from class 1 onwards, the child's progress on learning will be tracked. And if the child is going from one school to another school, this whole 5-year record or 3-year record will be with the new teacher, and he or she will be seeing that how child is on emotional aspect, how this child is on social aspect, and how this child is on cognitive aspects. So this holistic progress card is also is emphasized upon in our policy. And not only this, policy is also emphasizing upon linkages between higher education and school education. And on this aspect, we need to really have a massive consultation with higher education. Maybe school education and higher education need to sit together to work upon basically for the secondary stage, that what kind of subject we can offer. Like Professor M.M. Pant was mentioning, that cell biology and many other new areas. So those new areas, how what are the implications of those new areas for the school education, that we need to see and think. So policy on the issue of equity and inclusive education, the policy is recommending gender inclusion fund for Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, and it is also saying that now this Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya need to be upscaled up to class 12th. There is also provision for gifted children, which we didn't find in earlier policy documents. So now policy, because the vision of the policy is that we need to identify and recognize unique capabilities of children. So addressing needs of each and every child, the policy is also focusing on to look at the gifted children and come out with good programs for them as well. So these are, and medium of instruction will be in the mother tongue. This is the policy recommendation. And this is really very, very challenging for us, because this policy is giving us a roadmap of translating the material, local material, even material developed at the national level in different languages, so that every child can have benefit of that. With regard to teacher education, I really like two recommendation of this policy very much. One is that 50 hours of in-service training per teacher per year. So whether it is the teacher educators or teachers, they have to go through this 50 hours, and it is very much required, because often we after pre-service teacher education course, when we join teacher education, when we join school, we hardly get opportunity to update ourselves, and it is very much required for a teacher to update regularly. So this is very good recommendation of the policy. Policy is also saying national professional standards for teachers. So in coming years, we'll be having national professional standards for teachers across the stages, whether it is school education or whether it is higher education, so that these teachers can get opportunity to improve themselves, and also become accountable to the system. Then policies, I think you all know, policies also recommending integrated teacher education program. So these are some of the good recommendations of the policy which we need to implement. As far as teacher as a professional in 21st century is concerned, this policy is expecting a lot of things from the teacher. It expects that teacher need to address needs of every child through appropriate pedagogy. Teacher need to develop critical thinking, reflective thinking, decision making, computational thinking, mathematical thinking in students. So teacher also need to have that kind of competencies, because if he or she has to develop these kinds of things in children. And teacher is good writer of textbooks with local flavor. This also policy is saying. Then school has to become a Samajik Chetna Kendra. This is one of the recommendation of the policy, and for that teacher is the main player, that the school need to act in the society as a Samajik Chetna Kendra. Whether it is at the time of pandemic, schools have really played their roles very well, or whether it is a cleanliness program, or whether it is many other ECC, how to take care of this early childhood care and education. School need to come out with these kinds of skill to act as Samajik Chetna Kendra in the system. So the policy is also, then I have also talked about 360-degree assessment teacher has to do, holistic progress card teacher has to see. So these are some of the recommendations, some of the expectations of the policy from a teacher. So so now if I come to the initiatives which we have taken as a follow-up of this National Education Policy 2020. So I can say that we have started at the NCERT level the groundwork for the preparation of working papers, which will provide inputs to the national curriculum frameworks, all the 4 national curriculum frameworks. So in this regard, we have identified 28 areas, like you can say, like science education, how this science education will look like, how this arts education, art education or art integrated learning will be there, what would be the alternative ways of school education, and because policy is recommending on that also, and also how this examination reform will be taking place. So on all these areas, 28 areas, we have set up internal group, and we are working on those working papers. Then we also are in the process of making guidelines for foundational literacy and numeracy mission framework. This guideline is also in the process. Toy-based pedagogy is another area where we are in the process of preparing guidelines as well as modules, that how can teacher promote this toy-based pedagogy. And I think you all must be aware of this toy hackathon, which is toy-kathon, which is I think going on, and toy fair we have recently organized with the help of many ministries. So this is also one of the area, and we will be coming out very soon good modules on this toy based pedagogy, that how teacher can integrate these toys for the learning of children. And then NISHTA, I don't know whether you all are aware or not, National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement. This is a program which aims at training of 42 lakh elementary stage teachers. And the good news is that we have already completed this 42 lakh teachers training. 17.5 lakh teachers we have covered before pandemic through face-to-face mode. And now this NISHTA is going on Diksha. So 18 modules are there, and 23 lakh remaining teachers have already enrolled and now completed their training on this portal. So and very soon we are going to conduct a secondary stage NISHTA also, where we will be having 66 modules across the courses like secondary science, secondary mathematics, secondary social science. So this NISHTA will be a model for continuous professional development of this CPD for 50 hours. And maybe states and maybe institutions may be having many more models on CPD, for which NCERT is also in the process of preparing guideline, and that can be offered on Diksha or face-to-face mode. And Diksha model, like NISHTA modules can be considered to see that how these kinds of modules we can develop for CPD. Review of learning outcomes is another area which we are now taking up. NCERT has prepared learning outcomes from class 1 to 12th. So up to 10th, the printed form is available, and for class 11th and 12th, we are in the process of finalizing. But now, in view of the policy, we have to integrate life skills, we have to integrate values, we have to integrate knowledge of India. So in that respect, we are now reviewing our learning outcomes for across the classes. And also we are coming out with learning outcomes for ECC also, like foundational stage also. Then we are also coming in the process of making pedagogical framework for new generation textbooks. So as earlier speakers also have raised concerns about the textbooks. So we are now thinking of making energized, a dynamic and vibrant kind of textbooks. So on that also we have started discussion, internal discussion. Guidelines for gifted children is also in progress. Then consultations with DIET and SCRTs, because these are our NCERT's counterpart, and because they are the institutions or implementing bodies which will go to the grassroots level, whether it is BRC, Block Resource Center, BITES, DIETS, SCRT. So for school education, these are the wheels. So they will go up to the grassroots level. And then we are also in the process of preparation of variety of e-content. PM e-Vidya program is already going on continuously. We are giving e-content for them. Even alternative academic calendar, which we prepared during the pandemic stage, that is also going on. And we have also prepared Pragyata guideline for online education, digital education. So what should be the screen time or these kinds of things, and how can teacher plan online teaching? So these Pragyata guideline on learning enhancement guideline, alternative calendar, these all are available on the NCERT website. This will be helpful for us in implementing our policy perspective. So I would just conclude my talk with a quote from the policy itself, that education must build character, enable learners to be ethical, rational, compassionate, and caring, while at the same time prepare them for gainful and fulfilling employment. So you can see that this policy is very, very aspiring, but of course, it gives us implementation strategies integrated with its aspirations. So we need to understand, we need to interpret its inspiration and implement it in its letter and spirit. So let us join hand to implement this National Education Policy 2020. So thanks a lot for inviting me. Thanks a lot to the organizers. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing details of NEP 2020 with all of us. And we too are eagerly waiting for the implementation of NEP 2020, which is an interactive and activity-based, where our learners are going to enjoy their education now onwards, with multidisciplinary courses and having a local flavor. Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your